Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, good. You guys ready to be done?
Oh, I think that's an understatement.
I think that's fair.
See, I'm taking another class as well, so
Are you?
it's
That,
terrible.
what are you taking? A bunch of you guys are in engineering, right? Engineering
Yeah,
1 or 2? Okay.
yeah, I'm taking 102. It's terrible.
I bet that's a lot. Man, are you off second half of summer?
Yep, I took both of them the first halves because I need a break.
Yeah, that's the advantage. At least you get.
I need a little summer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Man, we'll give everybody a couple minutes here and then get started. I'm hoping we get most of you guys in here today. We'll see. Not looking like everybody yet. How was the quiz Friday? Like, how'd the lockdown browser and all that go? Was it pretty smooth? Carla, not so much.
A lot of difficulties, but I don't know if that's just because I was doing it in a beach house at 1 a.m.
I hope that's the case.
Well, it was also very hard to tell where the camera was because it would only show the camera if you were not in it, and then it would yell at you.
Does it yell at you if you're not in the camera?
It kind of like it pops up on your screen and blocks.
I thought I had turned that off. Okay. I did not know that. I guess if you leave the screen, you can't turn that off. But I turned off the facial recognition thing. Or I thought I did.
I don't know. I was still in the screen, but I wasn't looking at it. I was looking at my paper, and it would pop up and block the quiz.
Okay. And there was one, you texted me but on Hangouts, but there was one test that none of the pictures would load. And I think it's yours, Carla, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, it was mine. I saw 0%. And I was like,
no, well, it just kept loading, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So, but I didn't figure out. Like, I was grading this last night when you guys got all those like midnight, and I was like, I'm not figuring out whose it is, but I bet it's yours.
It was 100% mine, and I turned it the same way as everything else, so I have no idea.
Okay, I'll grade it as soon as I can. It should be this afternoon. I've just been in stuff all morning.
It's chill.
Yeah, sorry about that. Man. All right, well, we're going to start talking about just stuff in general, but do you guys have any questions while you can ask questions once I started, obviously, too. Any overall questions right now?
Yeah, could you go over the whole quiz?
Well, maybe not. But there's solutions posted, and then after this, I do have another meeting a little after 2, so I can stay until 2. But I'll hold office hours like normal, and we can go over some of the problems. I doubt we'll get to all of them, but we can go over some.
Yeah, because like some of the questions were kind of confusing. It was
we'll talk about them in a minute. Yeah, but let's talk about. I wanted to talk about grade and the final and that type of stuff first, just while everybody's here, and then we can talk about whatever questions you guys have got.
Can I ask one quick question about the setup for this week 6? So do you think it would be at all possible to post Wednesday on Tuesday so that I could have like 2 days to study?
There already.
Oh, okay, yeah. Perfect.
Everything should be there. There's one video that I'm considering redoing, but there is at least a video there. I just may make a new one. Okay,
perfect. Because I just want like 1 to 2 days.
Yeah. So let's do all this. Let's go ahead and talk about this week's schedule. Then we'll talk about grade and we'll talk about the final. Fair enough, you guys? Okay. And then whenever you guys do have questions, just unmute yourself. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, but you can unmute yourself. When I'm sharing screen, sometimes I can see the chat, sometimes I can't. So just hold up or just make sure you unmute yourself if you do have a question. I'll try to check the chat as much as I can, but let me go ahead and pull up the schedule for this week and we'll talk about that first, and then we'll talk about grades. And Jan, I think the solutions are already on Drive, Jan.
Under what folder?
I believe quizzes, but let me double check that. They should be there already. Let's double check. Yeah, so if you go into quizzes, if you may have to refresh it, but if you go into quizzes on Google Drive, you should see a file called quiz June 19th, 2020, which is a PDF of the quiz that you took. And then you should see a file called solutions to quiz June 19th, 2020. And I actually think there's one question that's different on the solutions because it's an old exam. And I think I'd replace one question. So the one question that's clearly different, I will make new solutions for that as soon as I can and post those. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, I think you'll see. I think it's, man, let me pull it up real quick. It is number 8 is not the problem that I gave you guys at all. And so I will give you a new solution to problem 8 as soon as I have a chance to do that. Okay, let's pull up the schedule first for the week, not the midterm exam. All right, schedule for the week is here. Let me share it. Okay, so you guys, for this week, here's how this is going to work. So today, obviously, you have the Power Series stuff to look at. You should have watched Unit 4 Video 1 last week. So that was just kind of an overview on Power Series. Today, it's going to be like the interval and radius of convergence, which is basically the domain, and talking about the idea of the coefficient and the center, some vocabulary and stuff like that. Hang on one. All right, sorry guys. So then unit 4, video 4 is Power Series representations of functions using a over 1 minus r. If you notice on the homework this week, I'm putting them all in purple, meaning I'm not going to collect them. So you are welcome to pace yourself how you want. You do need to know the material for the final, but you have solutions to everything that's here. So this is the pace that I would recommend that you go, but there are no due dates for any of this. There is a due date, obviously, for the bonus assignment, but there's no due date for any of this. So you can pace it how you want. If you want to do it all today and have all week, that makes today pretty miserable. But if you want to do it all today and have all week to study, you're welcome to do that. If you decide to wait until Thursday, that's probably a big mistake, but that's on you. Does that make sense? It's your call how to organize this stuff. But this is kind of how I would recommend that you do it. And so you got Power Series 1, Power Series 2, Power Series 3. Those are 3 handouts. When you look at the Power Series 2 assignment, there are actually 9 or maybe 12 problems on that handout. For this summer course, you're only responsible for the first 3 problems, okay? So you don't, on that handout, you do not need to worry about for the final questions 4 and on. I talk a little bit about that in the video, and you can definitely look at the examples. There's stuff that, it'd be nice to know, but I will not test you on that on the final. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Power Series 3 is there, all of that one, and then parametric equation 1 and polar coordinates. Those are all in Google Drive now. They're solutions to everything except polar coordinates. I haven't made the solutions to polar coordinates, but as soon as I do, I will post those. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Any questions about the schedule? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is covering material. Thursday is only review for the final exam. And like I said, because there are no deadlines on any of this, you pace it how you want, because you do have to take a final exam on Friday that is proctored. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about the remaining content or any of that? Okay.
Can we have a 2-day review, Wednesday and Thursday?
Yeah, so I'm going to offer review sessions on Wednesday and Thursday, Nor. So, as far as this assignment, you do need to do it at some point if you want to be ready for the final, but that's your call on when. Does that make sense? Okay. What else was I going to say? I think that was it. Oh, so Charlie, I think you were asking about, can I post the videos? All these videos should be on YouTube now. You may notice you need to go to the playlist to see them now. The security is a little bit higher because students are in it from the spring. So it's like you can access it, but you can't just like you can't search it because people are in the video other than just me. So anyway, they are all there. The one that I might update is Unit 4 Video 5. There's enough there. It was just covered pretty quickly. And so I may make an expanded version of that video. I'm not sure. It may or may not, but I'll let you know if I do. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Any other questions about the schedule or what's coming up? All right. Final is Friday. It's from 1 to 3. So it's going to work kind of like the last one, except we're going to do it with the Respondus monitor and the lockdown browser. So I'll send more details about that later, but it's going to be similar to the quiz. I have not had a chance to look at a lot of the videos from Friday to see how that went. It sounds like it was mostly successful, but we're all going to do the final. It has to be done at the same time. So you should log in around 12:30 or 12:45 for that to get everything set up. It'll record you. You do need to make sure, you know, your face is in the camera and your hands are in the camera all the time. You absolutely cannot be like on your phone or anything like that. And you do have to follow a time limit. You'll get 2 hours for the final exam. So let's actually write some of this. We'll talk about the final first, and then we'll talk about grades. Okay, so share screen, and let's share the iPad. There's always a delay the first time I share my iPad, so give it 1 second here. I don't know why it's such a long delay. Okay, there we go. You guys see that, right? You guys good? Okay. So the final exam, it's not written yet. I don't know how many questions or anything like that. So the final exam, though, is comprehensive. Meaning it covers the entire class. It is open book and open note. Meaning you are allowed to have anything on paper that you want. Does that make sense? Okay, so you can have that on paper. Okay, so on paper, anything that you want. You cannot use any electronic resources. So, and no calculators. Okay, so if you want to print out the handouts, that's allowed. If you want to make a formula sheet, that's allowed. If you want to use the series summary sheet that I gave you, I had told some people last week you weren't going to be allowed to do that. We've changed the policy on that. You are allowed to use any written material that you want. So you can spend this week organizing your notes however you want to, but it must be on paper. So if you have a printer, you're welcome to print things out. If you don't have a printer, you're welcome to handwrite whatever you want, but you cannot have other windows open up during the test. You cannot look at anything on your phone. You can't use an iPad. You cannot have another laptop. Does that make sense? So nothing electronic, but you've got all week to print or write down anything you want. That includes examples. So if you want to copy examples, that's fine. If you want to print old tests, that's fine. Just be careful of the time limit. So, you know, you're going to have 2 hours for the final. It's designed to finish probably in about 90 minutes under normal circumstances. So it's 90 minutes for a normal situation where you're not looking things up. You know, I think the open book, open note will help, but it might make the time limit a little bit more of a challenge if you're sorting through a bunch of stuff. So I would recommend spending a lot of time this week getting really, really organized with your notes and whatever else you want to use. But we will allow open book, open note. We are not going to allow calculators. We're not going to allow any other resources. So you cannot be like going to Wolfram. You cannot use Mathway, nothing like that. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, any questions about that?
Yeah, just a question about the proctoring service.
Yeah.
Last time we did it on Zoom, but the issue with Respondus is that it's a lockdown browser. Yeah. My phone, it's like really hard to upload stuff because if it's like low RAM, like storage and stuff.
The lockdown browser is supposed to let you go to CrowdMark. I don't know that it'll let you. I don't know that it'll let you go to your photos though. So that
no, it doesn't.
So then you're going to have to unfortunately do it with your phone. We have to have you guys on camera when you're uploading. That's a department policy.
Can't we just use Zoom and just like the midterm?
We cannot use Zoom. No, we have to have a recording.
Damn.
Sorry. That's not just my policy. That's like with the other coordinator in the department. We either have to do that or use Examity. And if you were going to use Examity, then it's going to be like $20. So like,
and the fiasco.
Well, I think they fixed it, but I decided against using Examity. If you would rather use Examity and you want to set that up with me, I will make that an option. Just let me know, but you'd have to pay the $20 or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Good. I was just wondering if you can use
I'm sorry,
Zoom.
Nor. That's the best I can do. But you guys, you will have to get it uploaded to CrowdMark, and it has to be done while you're on camera. Probably what I'll do is have like a 2.5 hour window. So that'll give you 30 minutes to upload everything to CrowdMark, but you have to upload it to CrowdMark while you're still on camera. If you're worried about that working, you can email it to me as well or send it to me in Hangouts from your phone, but all of that has to be done on camera. Anything submitted after you're off camera will not count, and you could be facing academic integrity stuff. Does that make sense? And
so again, I can just send it to your email, send my
you
exam.
need to also do CrowdMark, but as a safe backup, you can send it to my email.
All right.
Is that fair with everybody? Does that make sense to everybody? In fact, I don't normally want everybody to email me at once, but 30 emails with the final exam seems fair. I would recommend that you email it to me too. Does that make sense? Just to be safe. Like Carla, I think, sorry to pick you out, but I think you did everything right, and for some reason CrowdMark screwed up. If that happens on the final, the department's going to say, too bad, you're done.
Yeah, I sent it to
I mean,
you on
nothing
Hangouts.
against you. I know you did nothing wrong,
Yeah.
just so everybody knows. Carla wasn't cheating. Like, so there was nothing wrong. But like, if something does go wrong on a final, there's not gonna be any question. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so let's just make that policy. So you upload to CrowdMark and email. Okay, and so email the test to me. Do that from your phone, but you need to be on camera. Anything that's submitted when you're not on camera not only won't count, but you could also be in trouble. So don't do any of that. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions about that, guys? I'm sorry it has to be so strict, but I think
I have a
kind
few
of makes sense
questions
when it's
actually.
a remote final. Yeah. Who's? I'm sorry, I don't know who's asking.
It's me. Just have a question.
Sure.
So I talked with a good amount of my classmates, and we kind of agreed on having the ability to print the exam if possible, because when I was doing the quiz, for example, it was kind of hard to both focus on the exam on the paper and on the screen itself. So and for me, it was kind of like it's not really helping me focus so much. So
I understand, Noor. Is this this isn't Noor. Who's talking?
Mubarak.
Mubarak. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It had
Fine.
Noor highlighted for some reason still. So anyway, we will, if you really want to print the exam, the final is going to be a little different from the quiz in that there's not going to be space to work on the final. Like all the questions will be on one page. If there's an issue where you want it printed, that will have to be done on camera as well. And we'll have to do that. You'll have to set that up with me separately. So if that's something you want to do, set it up with me. But what we'll do is I'll get on like 5 minutes before the exam, and we'll be on Zoom together while you. Again, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I have to document that this was done in a secure environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so like maybe we could set up where like 10 minutes before we get on Zoom, I am recording you on Zoom while you're printing it, and then I'm still on Zoom probably from your phone while you log into the lockdown browser. And then, that way I can at least verify and tell somebody if they're questioning it that yes, I saw you print it. I know there's no possibility that anything happened. Does that make sense?
So like if, I'm on Zoom with you on the laptop, so I should just take the laptop with me to the printer and do all that stuff?
Let's figure that out. If you want to do that, let's talk to me between now and Friday, one-on-one, and we'll figure out exactly how to do that. Is that fair enough?
Okay, then sure. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll try. I don't want you to not be able to print it. It's just that we cannot like it might have been you, Mubarak. I forget. Somebody last week, I emailed it to him 5 minutes before the quiz. Well, the quiz didn't matter, but for the final, I cannot email you guys the final before you're on Lockdown Browser. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So if you do want to print it, let me know that, and then I'll work with you individually, or with whoever wants to do that individually, on how we can arrange that before the final. It's not that I don't want you to print it. It's just that we have to have it somehow secured, where I have to be able to justify why I was allowing that. If you're okay just looking at it on a PDF, that probably is easier for you, but I'm willing to work with you to get it printed. And like I said, this will not be an exam where there's space on the paper. So, it'll just be a page or two of problem after problem listed there. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Other questions about the final?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, it was actually me who asked for the quiz to be printed and stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, Nazar, I don't think you were doing anything wrong, and I still, I don't think you're going to do anything wrong on the final. It's just that we have to have a higher security on the final exam.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah.
But I am happy to let you print it. We just have to figure out a way to do that where it's on camera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for printing the test, so that's why I wanted to ask my question is,
sure.
If I specifically chose to have the test on Examity, and I'm willing to pay for it and everything, is Examity going to give me the option to print the test?
We would have to work that out again with me, because you would. I don't know, Nazar. Let me work on that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. I hadn't thought about the possibility of using Examity if somebody wanted to do it. Yeah. And I had just got an email this morning, supposedly that Examity is going to be okay for Friday if we wanted to use it. Yeah. And I said no, because we had already set this up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Okay. So if you do want to print, so if you would like to print, contact me separately. And if you would like to use Examity, knowing that Examity is for a fee, contact Doug separately.
I mean, the primary reason that I would request to take it on Examity is just for the printing purposes, nothing else.
Okay.
I mean,
so let's work out the best thing we can work out. I will do my best to work it out so that you're able to take it. I'd like to do it where you don't have to pay for anything, but where you're able to print it. Is that fair?
Yep, that works. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Other questions, you guys?
How do we check the time during the exam?
So there will be a timer on the exam. And now, okay, when you guys did this last week, did it have you do the room scan before the timer started? It does all that beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so the timer starts when you actually go into the exam, and the exam has 2 questions. The first one just has a bunch of policies, and the second one was a PDF. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so then probably what we'll do is we'll say, okay, I'm going to set the timer, say, for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And so you'll have done the room scan and everything before that. And then the timer will be, you need to finish by the time you have a half an hour left. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have, it'll be timing for 2:30, but then you need to stop at the end of a half an hour. If you want to set an alarm on your phone, as long as it's behind you and not accessible during the exam, I'm okay with that as well. I know somebody said, hey, Siri, and did a 2-hour, man, and now Siri's responding, sorry. 2-hour time limit that way, or an hour and a half time limit last week, and that's completely fine with me. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, so do we have 2 hours to take the final? I thought it was an hour and a half.
You have 2 hours to take the exam itself, Steph. So it will be a 2-hour time limit for the actual exam. And then you'll have 30 minutes to upload to CrowdMark and or email it to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, no problem. No problem.
90 minutes. I just wanted to make
sure. No, you have 2 hours for the final exam. Okay. Other questions, you guys?
Yeah. So since the finals open note, open book, it'd be significantly harder than other tests passed.
Absolutely not. So
okay,
the only thing that might be a little bit different, but you already saw this on the midterm, is there will be some a little more, and not because of the open book part, but because of the remote part. There'll be some questions asking you to explain. There might, if you guys remember on the midterm, there was a question where it basically said, okay, here's the answer you get from a trig sub problem. Now convert it to X. There'll be a few more questions like that than just questions that are just do this integral. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I actually think that makes the exam easier, but there will be some more like that where it's just basically you can't go type it in on a calculator. Does that, I mean, to be perfectly honest, that's why we have to include questions like that. Does that make sense?
So like with that,
It's not harder. I don't think harder. I hope not harder.
all right. So like a question on like what like a certain thing means or something. Do we just put it in the chat or do we
No, you'll write it on paper and then you upload it on your, you know, up to CrowdMark or to me directly if that's what you want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like even if you like do the question completely wrong, if like you say that you thought it was like asking a certain thing, you solved it like according to that. Like because I know I gotta do that for the last one. I messed up on that one, but like if you don't understand what the question's asking, will you like
I mean, I'll try to be as clear as possible as far as what the question's asking. But you do have to answer the question that is intended. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, of
sorry,
course.
Jake. So if you do misinterpret what it means, sorry. Okay. I will try my best to be very clear.
So you can't be with us for the exam?
No. So you cannot have questions during the exam. So you're just gonna have to read it and see. Go back and look at old exams. If there is a wording, we have all week. Tomorrow I have my office hours. I have my office hours every day except Friday. So tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday at 1 o'clock, office hours like normal. I'll have 2 review sessions, which we'll figure out times for in a minute. Like if you look at an old exam and you're not sure what I'm asking, let me know and I will be happy to explain or come up with a better wording before the exam. But you will have to interpret what I'm writing for the exam. Does that make sense? Okay. I promised you that I am not going to try to be tricky in the wording at all. I'm going to try to make it so it's very clear what I want. Does that make sense? Okay. I know I'm not always going to be successful in that, but I'm going to try. So like go back and look at the midterm and see like what about that wording was confusing to you, and we'll try to clear that up this week. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions you ask?
Yeah, I've got a question real quick.
Sure. What's up, Cody?
Like you did with the midterm where you released old exams that were previous midterms, are you going to release olds that were previously?
I'm not going to release old finals, but you guys should have gotten the bonus this morning. Is that right? That's basically 4 exams from another semester. You also have, I think, 4 semesters and a summer session of all the exams from those sessions. Final exams are just, you know, basically there's nothing significantly different about a final exam from a normal exam other than the fact that it covers all the material. The other thing that is somewhat different about a final exam maybe than other exams is that you're less likely to see a question that has 6 different methods in the same question. So like on the midterm exam, you might have seen a problem that required integration by parts and powers of sine and cosine and trig sub or something like that. Probably not all those 3, but you get what I'm saying? Like there are problems where you have to do a bunch of stuff, or there might have been a volume problem where you then had to do integration by parts. You're less likely to see that on the final exam. You're more likely to see straightforward ones where it's one method, where there's one clear thing that's being tested, which basically means some of the questions end up being a little bit easier. They're on the easy to middle range rather than the hardest ones from the old exams. Does that help somewhat?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Could I add on to that question?
Sure.
So you said like multiple parts. So like sometimes when you're doing parts, you need to do like U sub within it and all that kind of stuff. So that goes on to like series. So series is one of those things where it's like you have to do.
So series, because you've not been tested on it all, that's true to a little bit lesser extent this time. But still on a final, like whereas on a normal test, you probably see mostly middle to harder problems. On a final, you'll probably see more of the middle range problems and the easier ones. There still will probably be one integral that's really tough, and you're gonna have to figure it out. And there'll probably still be 1 or 2 series, just less of that than on a normal exam. Does that make sense? Okay. Other questions, you guys?
Do you think
I have a question on the stuff that we can print for the exam.
Sure.
So since it's an open book and an open note, that means we can even have printable handouts that are solved
100%.
already. That's
Yep.
So I can just like compare the answers. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. What else, you guys? Dre, I think you were asking something too, right?
Yeah. So, do you think you'd be able to give us like an idea of what we could expect, like number of questions, like where we test, like how many questions we'll have from like before the midterm?
Let me answer that at the first review session Wednesday, where I have a better idea. Is that fair? I don't have a real good idea right now. I think last summer's exam was probably 25 to 30 questions, but I don't know that even right now. Sorry, I just have not even begun to think about writing this test yet. Sorry. All right, other questions, you guys? Okay, now I do want to talk about grades, but any other questions at all about the final exam? Okay, so grades should now be up to date on eCampus. And so I want to talk about how you can figure out exactly what you need. And then I still do want to talk about the bonus here for a minute. So the grade in the class is out of, and I know this is weird, and I probably will never structure a syllabus exactly this way again because it's so weird. I tried to make it out of points thinking that would make it easier. It is, I guess, confusing how this was set up. But your homework and quizzes all together are worth 150 points in the class. Your midterm is worth 150 points in the class. And then the final is going to be worth 200 points in the class, which gives a total of 500 points. Now, the reason, and I understand this is confusing, the reason that that's confusing is because the 150 points here is not like 1 point on a homework assignment is one of those 150 points. You're getting your average on the homework out of 150. And so what actually happened on homework quizzes, you can see your final grade on that now. There were 825. There were 825 raw points. Okay, and so on eCampus, you can see all of those assignments. You can see your scores on all of those. If you add them up, you get a total out of 825. What I did, rather than drop your lowest or something like that, what I did is I added up, I gave you all of your points. Does that make sense? Out of 825. If you were 800 or higher, then you got an automatic perfect, which would mean you get 150 out of 150. So you didn't get bonus. So if you broke 800, you don't get bonus on that because some of the stuff was just participation. A lot of the homework was just if you did it or not. And so you didn't get bonus for that, but you got an automatic 100. If you were less than 100, then I gave you your, less than 800. So if you had less than 800, I gave your percentage out of 800 times 150. Does that make sense to everybody? And like I said, that's better than dropping your score because you got all the points that you had. So if you had a 90 on something, 10 points from something else could fill in for that. And so anything less than 800, I gave you. So if you had like, say you had 720 out of 800, then that's a 90%, which would have given you 135 points. So like 90% to get you 90% of 150 is 135. And so you would have had 135 out of 150. Does that make sense to everybody, what I did? Any questions on how I did that? Okay, and so you can go calculate that, but it should be right for you unless somehow you got a 0 on the quiz because CrowdMark screwed up. Sorry, Carla. But that will be fixed sometime this afternoon. If you think there's a mistake on that, just send me a message on Hangouts. I'll look into it and see. I think I've gotten all the stuff that people submitted because of mistakes on CrowdMark or something like that. But if there's a mistake, let me know, and I will try to fix that as soon as I can. But you should see on eCampus a total out of 150. That's done. Your midterm is also out of 150. So, you know, if you got a 90% on the midterm, you got 135 out of 150. If you got 100 on the midterm, you got 150 out of 150. And so you have those two scores already. And so let's say, I don't know, let's say I have 135 here, and let's say I have 120 here. Okay, so if that's my score, then I have 255 points. Okay, to get an A, I need 450. To get a B, I need 400. To get a C, I need 350. And to get a D, I need 300 because it's 10% each grade level. And so if I want to get an A there, I would need 195 points out of the 200 on the final. If I want to get a B, then I need whatever that is on the final. So 145, I think, out of 200. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that. Okay, so you can figure out exactly what you need out of the 200 on the final. If you are doing the bonus this week, okay, so to do the bonus, you had to have done the bonus from like 2 weeks ago where you like went back and redid the midterm basically. So as long as you did that, the bonus, it should have emailed you that. That is 4 old exams. And so we're not doing the bonus questions on those exams. We're just doing the exams themselves. So the exams themselves add up to 400 points. And I'm giving you a point for every 25 points that you earn, which means you could get up to 16. And that's added to this 500. So that's works out basically to 8% on the final. So if you needed like a 92 on the final to get an A, if you do the bonus and get all of it, you would need an 84 on the final to get an A. So it's actually a pretty good bit if you choose to do the bonus. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. And so that's how grades will be determined. That's basically all I had to say about that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. If you do have a specific question about your grade, definitely let me know. I'm happy to talk about that over Hangouts or in office hours or whatever. If you stick around after this, I can talk to you about it then too. But that's how you figure out what you need on the final to get a certain grade. Bonus scores won't be available until after the final. You'll have to, you know, do your best and then kind of guess. There is a hard deadline on the bonus. So the bonus is due Wednesday night at midnight. CrowdMark is going to automatically email you guys 1 minute later with the solutions to the bonus. And so once the solutions are out, you can no longer submit the bonus. Does that make sense? Okay. You're welcome to get help on the bonus. So you're welcome to ask me for help. You're welcome to work with each other. However you want to do the bonus is fine with me. Okay. Any questions about grade? Okay, and so the last thing is the bonus, and it should have emailed you that at midnight last night. If for some reason it didn't, let me know. There's a PDF there. You don't have to print it out, although I think it's probably easiest to print it out if you can. If you don't have a printer, definitely don't worry about that. But you work the bonus how you want and submit it to CrowdMark. You're going to submit it in one question on CrowdMark, so you submit it how you want. But just make sure you do that before Wednesday if you're choosing to do the bonus. I do think whether you're doing the bonus for bonus points or not, going through those 4 old exams will help a ton studying for the final, which is why the bonus is set up the way it is. So I do recommend that you do that. And you can get help from me in office hours tomorrow and Wednesday on the bonus solutions. You'll be emailed Wednesday night, and then we'll do review sessions. So let's talk about review sessions for the final, and then we'll get off of here. All right, so review sessions. I was planning to do one Wednesday and Thursday. Man, let's see if there's any big objection to this. So what if we do Wednesday from 3 to 5:30? So is there anyone who wants to, and this would be Eastern time. So is there anyone who wants to come that could not because of that time? And please say, if you don't want to come, don't worry about it. If you want to come and you can't do that, then let me know. Okay, so everybody who wants to come can do Wednesday 3 to 5:30. Man, 3 to 4:30. Let's not do 2.5 hours. That's excessive. 3 to 4:30, but I'll probably work till 5 if people are still asking questions. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so hour and a half with the possibility to go to 2 hours, not 2.5. That's too long. Okay, and then how about the same then on Thursday? And again, unmute yourself. Tell me if you can't do that, but you want to, let me know and I'll rearrange. We're good? Okay, so review sessions will be Wednesday and Thursday from 3:30 to 4:30 on Zoom. Office hours this week will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 1 to 2 on Zoom. And then email or message, actually message would be better. If you want to print exam, or use Examity, and then we'll try to work out the details on that. Okay. Any questions at all? You guys good? Okay, if you do have any questions, stick around. If not, I will hopefully see you at office hours or review sessions the rest of the week. If you want to re-watch any of this video, I'm going to post it to YouTube and share it with the class. So you can go back and see any of these policies that you want. But that is it for today. If you do have questions, just stay on here. Otherwise, I will see you guys later.